Hello, everyone. This is Simon with AvaTrade, and I wanted to welcome you to our weekly trading plan webinar. And a special welcome, of course, to the new people, and welcome to our webinars. As you could see, the title pretty much reflects on it, and it says your weekly trading plan, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. And as you know, or you probably heard, that the traders like to say that you plan your trade and then you trade your plan. And of course, there's no guarantees, but not just in trading, but in everything else that we do in life, planning could improve results, not to say more. A few things about myself. This is me, Simon Friedman. I'm a senior account manager with AvaTrade. My overall experience is over 23 years. It's been 23 years since I started as a proprietary trader back in New York City. And after doing it for 11 years, I moved into a less stressful environment. And of course, I continued trading. And I started to mentor and educate traders. And currently, I'm very happy that I have an opportunity to work with our customers with AvaTrade. The agenda of the webinar is pretty much the same thing we do every week. We'll talk a little bit about fundamentals, the big picture, and then we'll go into indices, stocks, commodities, Forex. And today it's going to be the same. Risk warning, you can find a full statement at avatrade.com. And of course, everything we do here is purely educational. We do not suggest any trades. And right here, you have channels that I highly recommend for you to subscribe to. You have Telegram, Twitter, and of course, as I usually say, my favorite YouTube channel that you can find a lot of educational material, tutorials, webinars that are being recorded and posted there on a regular basis. So something that I highly recommend. And of course, if you are watching this on a YouTube channel, please subscribe. Please feel free to share it with your friends. Definitely, I would encourage you to write your feedbacks, your comments. We really appreciate them. And before we go into economic calendar, I just take it away, so not to have attention on that. Now, we finished an intense week. It was a lot of moves. As I mentioned to you last week, we had about 50 or 60 companies out of S&P 500 reported last week. There were some disappointments, some good news. Friday would it close lower. Thursday before that also was a low day. But overall, the indices had a positive, or US indices had a positive week. We'll go through the numbers in a few moments. And we are really approaching that decision of the Feds, and this is the highlight of the week. This coming week, we have a decision. The meeting starts on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, it will be an announcement. As of now, based on the CME futures or the Fed's predictions, it's 98% or 99% of probability that it's going to be 0.5% interest rate increase, and that's on Wednesday. We also have another two major decisions from European Central Bank and Bank of Japan. So we have three announcements as far as the interest rate decisions. Very important and very strong week. A lot of things are happening. We'll go through economic calendar at the moment. So again, this decision has been watched, or a lot of traders and participants in the Wall Street process, they are waiting for this announcement. It looks like it's priced in, it's already happening, and definitely they want to hear what's next. And the whole focus is on that Wednesday. Okay, so that's pretty much the highlight of the week. Let's go through economic calendar really quick. So on Monday, we have PMI numbers from Germany, European Union, and UK. We also have PMI from US. That's Monday. Tuesday, European Central Bank lending survey. Wednesday, that's the day. We have starts with Australian numbers. We have CPI numbers from Australia, and then at 6 p.m. GMT time. Now, all these things on GMT. That's the Fed's decision, and as usual, the 30 minutes later, the press conference. And I like to focus your attention on that, as you know, and I mentioned every time before the announcement that, especially today, that it's pretty much said that we are having that increase, but the press conference is the key point. And as usual, the Chair Powell, he will be drilled with all kind of questions, and how he reacts to it. Even his body language is being watched closely, and market reacts to every comment. So that's on Wednesday. Thursday, as I mentioned before, we have the interest rate decision from European Central Bank. Then we have GDP numbers from US, a press conference from ECB following the decision, and CPI numbers from Japan. That's all on Thursday. And Friday finishes up the week with retail sales from Australia, and we have that Bank of Japan interest rate decision followed by press conference. They don't disclose the times for some reason. So again, just to remind you, Bank of Japan is the only major central bank that hasn't done anything in changing the rates, and others that includes US, UK, European Union, they had multiple increases in interest rates. So maybe this is the time we'll hear something. Definitely is going to be a lot of tensions on Japanese yen going into the announcement. Then we have CPI numbers from Germany, and we have data from US core personal consumption expenditure. This is also the number that the Feds are paying attention to. Okay, just a few things about the economic calendar I think it's important to mention. What I do here, I just take the high impact events, and you're more than welcome to filter out whatever actually connects to the trading that you do, what instruments you trade, what part of the world you trade, and so on. And you can customize it. You can find the economic calendar at our web trader or the AvaGo app or any other provider. All this is public information. It's not anything secret. It's available to everyone, so you can find your source of favor and prepare yourself for certain announcements. Okay, so that's as far as the economic calendar. Again, the three major things, that's the interest rate decisions from US, that's on Wednesday, and ECB decision on Thursday, and Bank of Japan on Friday. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, major events as far as the announcements. Okay, and before I go into the chart, just wanted to show you this. By the way, if you do have time and desire, you can find this article. It's at MarketWatch, and I'm going to read it. These stocks watchers nailed the market's melt up, but now they're bracing for a fall. Here's what to watch. And of course, the Fed's decision. And the big question here, will Wednesday Fed decision trigger a big stock market pullback? A nice picture, makes you think about a collapse. Again, I don't know if that's what they're trying to imply here, but definitely, if you have time and desire, it's an article that talks about some possible scenarios of recession and so on. Okay, so let's move now to the trading platform. And before we go into U.S. indices, I'd like to show you the China, as a lot of focus is on China, and also geopolitically and financially, they're not doing so great. And as you could see, in the past 2 days, we had few attempts to run up, and we ended up lower. and that's just to show that Chinese economy is having a hard time bouncing, and that definitely affects everything else. Okay, so we'll go to U.S. indices, and we start with Dow Jones. It rose 2.1% for the week. Strong week for Dow Jones. We're actually approaching those all-time highs that we had in January. As you remember, January 2022 was the peak of the markets, and then the whole year, the whole last year of 2022, we're selling. So overall, 2.1% advance for the week on Dow Jones. S&P 500 rose 0.3% on Friday and finished the week 0.7%. And here we also kind of on the way to possibly retest that. But first we need to break through this previous level. And according to this chart here is high 45.88. That's where the sell-off started. I mean, that was the second wave of sell-off since the January. So S&P up 0.7% for the week. Nasdaq actually had a decline for this week, and it was led by a big tech companies. So decline of 0.6% for the week. Nasdaq was doing, I think, the best out of three indices until this past week. So that's as far as the U.S. indices. Now we spoke about China, that is having a hard time, as you could see here. Now with China, let's take a look. That's what we do usually. That two major assets are being affected by China, and that's copper. So you could see copper did pretty much a similar move what Chinese index did, with these huge tails to the upside. We finished lower, and crude oil didn't really follow. Crude oil actually had a nice move on the falling market. So that's something to pay attention to. On falling Chinese index and US indices, oil was going up. That's something to watch in regards to relative strength. So if next week we were to have a run or upside move on a Chinese index and US indices, we could actually break out through this 77 level on oil, as it didn't really fall on the falling of the equity markets. Something to pay attention. Okay, let's take a look at European indices really quick. DAX was holding strongly. We are holding this recent advance. We closed at 16,262. It didn't really fall with the US markets. UK had a nice run since this recent sell-off. Definitely worth watching on a possible continuation or somewhere looking for the resistance. Take a look. Beautiful second strong week to the upside. And the French index as well. We had 2 consecutive weeks to the upside. And Thursday and Friday on the US equities falling, the index was higher. So that's as far as the European index. Let's see how, first of all, how the European indices are reacting to the interest rate from European Central Bank this week. And let's take a look at Nikkei really quick, as we are to have also a decision on Friday, as we mentioned, from Bank of Japan. As of now, we're really having a consolidation here, sitting right about the 50-day moving average. So definitely that decision, I mean, hypothetically, if there's a finally increase in interest rate, the yen should move higher, and we might see a move to the downside on Nikkei. And if the opposite happens, if they stick to the same policy and not increasing the rates, the yen could go lower and Nikkei could shoot up. So something to pay attention. Okay, so that's as far as indices. We established that we had a positive week for US indices. Besides the Nasdaq sold out. And we'll switch to to US stocks, and then we'll take a look at two stocks that really added to losses at Nasdaq. A lot of it to do, of course, with the tech stocks. Here comes Netflix. It opened with a gap on Thursday and Friday, continued lower. Tesla reacted to the earnings. They were not so great. So also a nice fall on these two. Now, this coming week, we have a huge bunch of stocks out of S&P 500 reporting, and it's about 150 stocks. Last week, if you remember, I mentioned 60 stocks. This week, about 150 companies are reporting. So let's take a look at a few of them. We're having Alphabet or Google reporting on Tuesday. The stock is selling so far. We have Microsoft as well on the same day. Microsoft, after hitting, I think, the all-time highs, right, this month, we are 3 consecutive days to the downside. So Microsoft is reporting. GE or General Electric is reporting as well. The stock has been super strong. So you could see here, we are approaching the highs, and we're having a hard time here for a few days, maybe about a week or so. And the company reports earnings on Tuesday. So GE definitely worth watching. GM as well is reporting the same day. So Tuesday, a lot of earnings. These are just few that I mentioned. Verizon's reporting and other companies. So that's on Tuesday. Wednesday, we have another giant reporting. That's Facebook. It's been selling as well, also contributing to the fall of Nasdaq this past week. We had Thursday and Friday strong falls on Meta or Facebook, and they are reporting on Wednesday. And we have Intel reporting on Thursday. As you could see, a lot of choppy trading in Intel, up and downs. Let's see what the announcement of what the earning will bring. And here we go. On Friday, Chevron and ExxonMobil are reporting. And take a look. It is a huge consolidation here in Chevron. As you could see here, we've been trading in a tight range here between 150, 160, $10 range. A lot of moves up and down. So they are reporting on Friday, and ExxonMobil as well, which looks weaker. As you could see, it's really choppy trading here. As you could see, a lot of tails, a lot of gaps, very chaotic moves. So they are also reporting on Friday. So just to remind you, again, 150 out of S&P 500 companies are reporting this coming week. Okay, something to really, really pay attention. Now, a few things. I just want to bring Teva slowly but surely. We spoke about the stock when it was around 720. It was a consolidation here within 20 cents for a while, and then we're stepping. We crossed 8. Was a little bit of a fight here. We hit on Thursday 866, closed at 848. It's holding up. And again, just to remind you and to mention to new people, the reason I mentioned this stock is it's been doing these moves between $8 and $11 for a while, zigzagging. So we'll start talking about it around $8 and around $7. There's a possibility of it stepping up and possibly moving into the up direction, and that's been happening. So something to pay attention. Now, AT&T, if you remember, we mentioned AT&T was a sell-off. The stock hit a 30-year low, and then out of nowhere, some analysts, the moment we hit 13, what was the low? 1340, 1350, they said it's oversold. And next day we opened with a gap. So a little bit of recovery. Let's see what this week brings to AT&T. Apparently, there's a huge selling in the stock. So let's see what happens. So again, that's as far as stocks. The Nasdaq or technology stocks got hit the most this past week. And let's see what this announcement and press conference of the Feds will bring this week. And we might see something that some analysts predicting as a pullback on the market, or we might see the rally if whatever they have to say, it's really supporting the market. So that's as far as the equity markets. Let's move to commodities. And as we mentioned already, we mentioned crude oil and copper. Definitely we'll be watching this week what's happening in China, what the equities are doing on copper. On the crude oil, we'll be watching again if the market pulls down further. We might see that this resistance, which kind of held on Friday around 77.30, it might be holding, and then we pull back. And if the market turns and becomes stronger, we might see actually continuation to the upside. As on the week, equity markets, especially Chinese market as well, the oil actually went up. So something to pay attention. Natural gas. Again, we've been talking about it every week, and every time I talk about it, it brings a smile on my face. It's been probably driving crazy a lot of traders and investors. After sitting in this tight range here, we finally, every time we break out, it gives hopes to the traders. As here, we hit 3 back in March. Then we went back into the basement, if you want to call it. Went below that level again. Then we broke the 260, the key level again. Went back to 215, and here we just made a nice attempt on the 25th of June and came right back to 250 again, and we about 260 again and closed at 272. So it could be that this time we might hold this level 260 as a support and possibly start moving to the upside. But again, we can speculate whatever we want, the market will show. So that's natural gas. Gold. Gold had this week a nice move. We broke about the 1955, the key level that we always discuss, and a nice strong move on the 18th. And then slowly on the strength of a dollar, when we'll get to dollar in a moment, the gold came to retest this 1955 and close at 1961. Again, it's super sensitive to what the Feds are going to do and say. It's super sensitive to the dollar, and of course, it's sensitive to the equity markets, as it is besides or all other titles. It is playing a role of a safe haven. So when the market sells, gold tends to gain in value. So here it would do the same, but the dollar got super strong in the past 2 days. So the the gold sold on that. That's as far as gold. Soft commodities. It was a nice move this beginning of the week since the Russia got out of this grain agreement, and the wheat had a nice move the whole week until the sell-off on Friday. So let's see if this is just the healthy profit taking, and we might see continuation to the upside, or maybe we need to see another consolidation before anything happens. But as you could see, reaction to that geopolitical event was very strong on wheat. And corn, same thing, moved higher after being sold out. And I think we mentioned this level here. I'm not sure if we mentioned in this webinar, but this was the level from 2021. And we said if we start trading above that level again after this huge sell-off, we might have a nice move to the upside, and that's exactly what happened in this past week. So again, let's see if we have any developments from the Russia-Ukraine conflict or any details, and we might see continuation to the upside on the soft commodities. Now, soybeans, they remain strong, and they're also on the way to retest this level of resistance that we tried to break through a few times. Let's see if we manage to do that. Okay. Coffee. Coffee is really sitting at this level after this recent sell-off, and it looks like it's finally lifting its head to the upside. So we might want to see coffee this week as we're really glued to this 200 weekly moving average. As you could see here, we have few consecutive weeks. We have the close levels are pretty much on the same level. A lot of fluctuation, a lot of tails, but open and close prices are pretty much in line. So definitely worth watching. Coffee, we didn't speak about coffee for a while. It was a recent sell-off here. And let's see how this week will play for coffee. Okay, so that's as far as commodities. And let's move to Forex. And of course, we start with dollar index, as we said. Dollar index had a strong week after this super intense sell-off that we had the previous week. This past week, we were going higher. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. See as we broke this trend line the past week, the previous week. This week, we kind of came back maybe roughly 50%. So as we're approaching that Fed's decision and the plan for the future, we might see continuation of dollar to move higher. So definitely worth watching. If we go to the major pairs, we also see a big move against the Swiss franc finally. That was a huge sell-off, consolidation, and then Thursday was a strong move to the upside. Let's see if that continues. On the yen, of course, dollar's been strong against the yen, as just to remind us again that Bank of Japan is the only major central bank that hasn't done anything in increasing the rate. So maybe this week will change. Euro dollar. If you remember, I think the previous week we said 110 could be resistance. We easily went through it. We went all the way to 112.75, and this past week we've been selling. We closed 111.24. Again, this week we have not just U.S. interest rate decision, but also European Central Bank. So both of the sides of this currency pair will be affected. Definitely will be a lot of actions in euro dollar. Pound had a strong move on the weakness of a dollar, of course, and we came back. Now here, definitely worth watching, as this previous move to the upside ended at 128.475. And take a look, we closed right on this level. So it looks like this previous resistance might become a support here. But again, we are having major announcement this week, so we might easily break down and start building new resistance and moving lower. Or if we are holding this level and start building support, we might go up, at least start or try to retest this recent high of 131. What was the level here? 131.40. Okay, so here we have kind of a level to watch on British pound. And our favorites that we kind of looked at as dessert, USD ZAR, we hit this previous support this past week, and 2 days in the green. We are trading between 1770, let's say. The low here was 1772.79 and 18. So again, we need a strength of a dollar to move this pair higher. And if for some reason dollar will remain weak or become weaker, we might see a retest of this level again. Definitely, we are below all three moving averages. So for the move up to start or to get intense, we need to be above the 200 moving average and start building maybe some support or evidence of the strength. It would be even better if we start building around this level here, around 1811. That was the first move or first support after the major sell-off. That was back in mid-June. So that's on ZAR. Turkish lira on Friday. It was a nice attempt. I'm going to bring 1 hour chart just to see it. was an attempt to gain some strength against the dollar, but then it came right back. So Turkish lira remains super weak against the dollar here. And this currency pair that we start watching a few weeks ago. For the new people, what I mentioned here that it's if you call it fundamentally or geopolitics, we have here the Prime Minister of Hungary is really kind of a support. I'm afraid to say supporting Putin, but it looks like he does. There are a few mysteries around it. And in any event, he's trying to block the economic help to Ukraine from European Union. And it happened in the past, and European Union threatened him that if he continues his policies, that they will cut support to Hungary. So now he's trying again. So that was my point when we ran here. I think back the end of June, I mentioned that it could cause the local currency to go lower. And since I spoke about it, we had a really nice move to the upside, but then we sold on the weakness of a dollar. And here the key level is around 335. We said if we break above it again, then we might continue higher. And that's exactly what's been happening the past few days. So worth watching. We probably, there's always a probability that if the dollar regains the strength or continued gaining strength, we might see continuation to the upside. So definitely worth watching. Okay, so as far as the currencies, again, dollar regained some strength in the past week. This week we have three major central banks are deciding on the interest rate. That's the U.S., European Central Bank, and Bank of Japan. So definitely is going to be a lot of actions in the Forex world. And let's wrap it up with taking a look at the Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is very consistent here. We did dive below the 30, the psychological level, below the 30,000, and it looks like we're building or consolidating there. Now, the big question, are we going to move higher again and retest 31 and so on, or this might become a resistance again like it did here after being support for a while. So definitely we'll be watching that, and I think that this week's events are also will be affecting Bitcoin as well. So definitely worth watching. Okay, so that's it pretty much with reviewing the instruments. I just want to summarize things. We had intense week that just passed. We had U.S. indices managed to close in the positive besides NASDAQ. NASDAQ in the past day or two had a huge sell-off. The major tech stocks that includes Tesla, Netflix, I think Nvidia as well. Most of them are sold heavily, and we entering into a busy week with 3 interest rate decisions. That's from U.S., European Central Bank, and Bank of Japan. A lot of data. Also, the week is full with announcements. We have 150 companies of S&P 500 reporting. That includes big companies like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Intel, and definitely they're going to be affecting the market. So that together with interest rate decision, we might see an intense and volatile week. So I want to wish everyone a great, successful week. Try to get some rest and relax. We still have some weekend left, and definitely want to wish everyone a successful and positive week. And we'll be back next week. All the best, everyone. Take care.